Hello, everybody. My name is Alexandra with This is Improv, here for another episode of Talk About It Tuesday, where we talk about all things the arts and the people who love them. Today, I am here with the amazing, the glorious, the spectacular John.
Hey.
John, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is John Phillpot. I'm involved in various forms of the arts as very much an amateur, a casual. Professionally, I work with computer, so that's where that time goes. But outside of that, I enjoy a lot of diverse forms of art. So let's see, I do improv. That's how I know Alexandra, and I've been doing that for 6 or 7 months now. I started in March. Uh, Likewise, I am learning to sing. I also started that in March. It was an important time for me, it seems.
Mhm.
But I've been writing for a bit longer than that, kind of off and on. Never any like huge, serious published projects, but writing things that I enjoy and that my friends enjoy reading. So I do some short fiction, sort of in like the intersection of like metafiction and lit fic and horror. And I do a lot of D&D. I've DM'd a few games for my friends, probably over the course of 3 or 4 years. Yeah, and besides that, I consume a fair amount of media. I enjoy criticism and analysis of basically anything I enjoy, and that includes the arts, so theater, film, improv too.
That's so awesome. Wow. Yeah, so John and I know each other through UCB Improv. We are taking the 301 class together. And I think I wanted to interview you the second I saw your little D&D shirt. And I was like, oh,
Heavy breathing.
brethren. So you said you started this like in March, but you started writing before that. So what kind of
Yeah.
brought you into that world of writing and creation?
So I've always really enjoyed writing. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I really enjoy finding ways to write things well and clearly, and still have them be what I deem beautiful. So I always wrote in school, and I always enjoyed that, and I got good marks for it, so that was clearly good. But I more seriously, I enjoyed doing it. That's why I did it. In college, I actually studied math, which sounds unrelated, but it turns out that if you have a math degree, most of what you do is write proofs, and proofs are written in English. As my professors would say, every sentence in a proof should be a sentence. It should start with a capital letter and end with a period, even if the end of the sentence is a mathematical equation. And so one of the things I took from that I like to apply to all of my writing is like clarity, style, and grace. Those are sort of the things you want in a proof, because basically you're explaining something extremely difficult or unintuitive and trying to make it extremely clear so that no one can say, oh, but what about X? You want to address all of that while still having it being like slick and not just, well, I tried all 7 cases and none of them work, because no mathematician is excited about a proof like that.
Right.
Then that came to my senior year in college. I got back into creative writing because I took a creative writing course. Before that, all of my non-technical writing had been like history. I did some history of science work, some research there. But I started doing creative writing again, and I really, really enjoyed it. I took a class with Salvador Plasencia, who is a professor at my alma mater. And we did a lot of reading and writing lit fic, which I really enjoyed. So some Borges in there, some of Sal's own work, I believe, as well, and wrote some stories that I enjoyed writing. And that's
so cool.
why I like writing, because I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. So have you ever submitted any of your stuff like professionally, or is it more of like a for me and my friends and people to enjoy?
I've never submitted anything. I've gotten close. I've done some research on it. I'm definitely, if I did submit something, it would almost certainly be in the realm of flash fiction. Like under 2,000 words. Part of that is I take a little bit of pride in parsimony with words and being like, I want to convey a lot with a few words.
Yeah.
Like I want every word to count. And with something like writing, where it's a static object, right? You can go back and edit it. I do a lot of that, and I end up with things that, again, I want to be clear and short and all that, which just naturally puts me in the flash fiction category.
Right. Well, that's cool that you're so focused on having a lot within a little, right? Which
Yeah.
which a lot of people strive for. Oh, I want to say so much, so let me say that much.
Mhm.
And but having it clear and concise, I think puts across the message a lot faster, but also a lot more beautifully, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm attracted to lit fic for that reason too, because a lot of times there's emphasis on like the words.
Mm.
I remember I took online like I took online half of a Coursera course about writing, and they mentioned this phrase that stuck with me. I think it's from Twain, but don't quote me. I guess you will. That's fine. It was like the boat had gone to all smash and scatteration. And I was like, oh, I just love how that sounds.
Yeah.
It's not real words. I don't mind. I love how it
No, it
sounds.
doesn't
Right.
matter. All words are real. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. If you ask the linguist, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, so like I really enjoy like making the words themselves be beautiful to say and to flow to my aesthetic.
Uh-huh.
So that's a big part of it as well. That's sort of, I guess, what I would call style, in addition to the clarity and the grace.
Yeah, that's amazing. And when did you want to start doing the improv acting training?
Uh, so I started in March of this year, March
Mhm.
of 2021. I decided I needed more stimulation in my enclosure. I just
Mm.
needed some things that I wasn't currently doing. I've always enjoyed improv. In college, I would like there was an improv group that I never got around to joining, but I like wanted to, but never did. And I don't know. I think it comes naturally to me as someone who doesn't plan very well a lot of the time. I'm used to improvising, so like that's good. It also helps counter that urge to edit and re-edit constantly. Because with a
Yeah.
piece of writing, I can never submit it because I can always find a way to improve it, and I can always spend 3 hours fixing one word.
Yeah.
You can't do that with improv, and that's actually freeing in some ways.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I have a lot of anxiety when it comes to presentational theater, when it
Mhm.
comes to just like extremely scripted theater, things that I've written. And when we started doing improv, I was like, I think it was my freshman year of college, and I was really like, I want to do this for the rest of my life kind of thing. And
Mhm.
it was my first improv class was my teacher was harsh but very warm-hearted, and she was like, Alexandra, we're going to keep doing this exercise until you make your face look so messed up that I'm afraid of you. And
Good.
because there's always that like finesse to scripted theater that you don't want to look like a sociopath, but like in improv
Mhm.
you can and you're still normal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly.
but yeah, it's like it's super freeing to just be like, yeah, we're gonna be really weird and it's gonna be really, really pretty all at the same time.
Mhm. Yeah. I actually in my head, I connected to the notion of mindfulness that I'm sure everyone has heard because it is one of the hot words. But like it forces you to be in the moment, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't go back and edit things nearly as effectively. Improv really does encourage the mindset of like, if you have something funny, say it now. Don't save your joke for later. Don't try to set up a big plot twist. Just do what you need to do right now. And again, for someone who can get too cerebral, as my therapist would say, like that's good for me to
Yeah.
be really invested in what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's crazy how just like proud you are after the fact of like, oh, I did it, I said it, I said all the throw up words that I had and it worked.
Hmm. That's
uh
really good.
and when when did you think that, I mean, do you think that the arts is something that you're permanently invested in now, or is it still, because I know that you do your work with computers, but is this something that you want to continue with in your life?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it'd be hard for me not to, depending what we mean by art, because
Hmm.
I mean, art, if you look up the definition of art, which I did, because that's the kind of person I am, because I was curious, right? Like, it's defined as basically like any expression of human creativity, and I'm like, well, I can't not do that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, even if I'm not doing the classical performing arts, the ones you can get a degree in, even if I'm not, getting it, training for dance or improv or whatever, I'm absolutely doing art, and I will be. I will always be improvising in conversations, contributing to the linguistic evolution of my idiolect and the dialects of people around me. I'll always be, writing things on the fly, just having fun with my friends. So I don't know that I could ever stop. Yeah, for me, like expressing myself is a necessity, and that won't stop. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you play Dungeons and Dragons. So we use Dungeons and Dragons in our teachings and for character development and character possibility and world creation. So how did you get into D&D?
Yeah. So in college, I had some friends who played, and I played with them like once in like a one-shot kind of thing, and that was enjoyable. And I always kind of knew I wanted to try it because I am in that culture, like that geeky, nerdy culture, and it feels like something you have to do. But it also seemed like a lot of fun. I enjoy both the theater aspect and the improv aspect, and I also enjoy the crunchy aspect. Like if you're not super familiar with D&D or role playing games in general, D&D is a very crunchy game. There's like 200 pages of combat rules, and I know them because that's how I am. Like I do like rules and I like playing with systems, and
Yeah.
that's maybe not an artsy part of me, but it is something that D&D actually has that a lot of like Powered by the Apocalypse games or like other simpler games don't have.
Mhm.
And for me, that was something of a draw beyond the fact that D&D is the name brand and everyone, right, just knows it, right? A lot of
Yeah.
times people say they play D&D, what they actually mean is they play Pathfinder.
Oh, yeah.
But all that said, that was my experience in college. And then after college, I played a little bit with a friend, and then I said, okay, I want to keep doing this. I'm gonna start join a group at work. So I did that with a DM who was a lot of fun to play with, and then I started DMing my own games. So I did a bunch of homebrew games and some Adventurers League with the people around me.
That is so cool. Yeah, I started in college too. One of my professors, who's now family friend, went into. He showed me, and my sister was in his D&D group already, and then a friend of his was in the D&D group, and I jumped in, and I was like, "This is amazing." He goes, "I knew you were going to be addicted to this, like the second you played it." I was like,
Yeah.
"I can be chaos, but also a very nice person."
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Super fun
so
for building those emergent narratives.
yeah, it's incredible. I started playing it with my teens. So the last 30 minutes of class, they have like this running story that they do.
Yeah.
It's just incredible to see how people also just like come together within the game because it's similar to improv. It's you have to work with the group. If you don't work with the group,
Mm-hmm.
things don't function and it messes up the storyline and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really work that way. So have you found that after doing improv, anything has changed with the D&D side, or is it more like you feel like it's just totally integrated within each other?
I think they're pretty well integrated. I was always, I've always been a pretty good at improvising in a D&D context. I grew up with my father's very, very funny,
Mhm.
very sort of quick-witted, and I got that from him, I think. So I never had too much trouble with that. I think I've gotten better at getting into character quickly and like making it more of an improv game and less of a war game because there's a lot of tension in D&D
Mhm.
with that, especially right because it has all those rules, and there are players who want to play D&D and want to play. I want to play superheroes on a grid
Mhm.
and win the game, and there are people who say, I want to be wild and have
Mhm.
fun. And
Yeah.
I think as someone who does like systems, I'm split between those two. But I
Yeah.
think learning improv has like made it easier to push further in the direction of the role playing rather than the game, as it were.
Right. Yeah. The what I found is Viola Spolin is someone who had created a lot of improv games for kids to
Mm-hmm.
be able to work together despite cultural differences. So her method was that there's a focus to the games that we play and they're very freeing and there is no winner and all of this stuff but there are rules and there is a focus, so you can have this chaos and you could be anywhere, be anyone, do anything, but understand that just like in life, we have these rules that we have to live by. And I think that helped me with like understanding D&D, like the first couple weeks that I played. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, there's so many numbers, but I love that there's so many numbers. I love that I have restrictions because then it just like
Mm-hmm.
further creates the character and creates the storyline.
Yeah.
So yeah. So when you're saying that you learned all of those stats and everything, I was like, I wish I had the brain capacity to learn all of those
Yeah.
stats. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it wasn't a choice. It just happened because I got it really into it. I'm like, okay, what can I do with these rules? How can I play with this system and make potentially an absurdly powerful character or a really interesting effect or.
Yeah, that's incredible. So now I'm coming to the point in the show where I must ask you one of the most epic questions of all time.
Okay.
What is your preferred taco to eat?
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
I know.
Yeah, so I like soft shell tacos because they don't stab me in the mouth. So we'll start there. I like probably either chorizo or Beyond Beef. I've had some Beyond Beef ones that are very good, and they have a good texture. Probably, I may be mixing the lines between taco and burrito here, but black beans are great. Cheese is good. Lettuce is good. Tomatoes, if they're fresh, are good, but I don't usually trust a lot of places. I live in Washington. I don't trust a lot of places with Tex-Mex. It's bad up here, so I don't trust that way. But when I'm in Florida, I trust that way, and I get the tomato.
Nice.
Yeah. So basically, that pile of stuff, just like whatever's available, like whatever, any subset of those, and I'll be pretty happy.
Nice. That's awesome. Oh, so true about the stabbing in the mouth. I don't know how people have hard shell tacos. It hurts.
Yeah. I don't
Why do you want mouth cuts? What is that?
Exactly.
Masochists with their tacos.
Yeah, no, like there's a time and a place.
There's a time and a place, right? If I didn't know you at all, this is like first encounters, first impressions. What can't I tell just by looking at you?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't know how like silly a person I am because I come off as very serious a lot of the time. I tend to like I like when there are rules and I like when I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And if what I'm supposed to be doing is be silly, that's fine. I'm cool with that. But when I don't know, I tend to just be very like, very like, okay, I'm gonna wait for instruction, wait for like, what do I do in the situations? Like, new person, like, am I meant to like say hi to people on the subway? Is that weird? And obviously there's plenty of social anxiety there, but that's something that may not come across because you just see me and you just see like someone who seems very like reserved and just not talking, on their phone or whatever, very, very back. Because if I'm uncomfortable in a situation, that's what I do.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't know perhaps that I am a very silly and talkative person.
Yeah. Yeah, John is super silly. I love the characters that you come up with in class. I think they're just like so, like some of them are just so pure and like flowing, which reminds me of how you were saying with your writing style, like this graceful way of doing things. It feels like that when we're playing together. It's like, oh wow, it's so like nice to play. It's very honest, and I like that. Yeah, it's really nice.
Thank you.
When you are doing improv, what is the feeling? And I'll add this in with writing too. When you are doing your stress release of writing and improv, what's the main feeling you have?
Main feeling. I think it's usually like excitement for writing, because if I'm actively writing, like I'm enjoying it. I'm like thinking about how do I make this better? How do I tweak this? What's going to happen next? So I really enjoy that in the sense of pride as well, probably in the sense of like I'm making something that I can look at and say I did a good job with that, and I'm really pleased with it. With improv, I would say there's definitely more panic in there, just that like, oh, I got to be funny right now, which obviously is something that as I do more of this will be less of an issue, but it's certainly something I'm susceptible to right now. But I do think that there is a feeling of like, there's definitely a feeling of freedom, especially when it is flowing. It's kind of like the way that like if you're sitting down to write and you're not writing, it's really stressful because you're like, but I have to be writing. I meant to do the thing and it's not working. Whereas if you are writing, it's like amazing. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel like with improv, where it's like if I'm doing improv that isn't clicking, where like I'm, my partner and I are talking past each other, or we're like struggling to find a good game to play together, that doesn't feel great. But if we're playing, if we're playing the game and like things are working really well, or even if we don't have a game, but I'm just having a really fun scene that seems real with someone, then I'm like totally into it. It's like, this is awesome. Like I'm enjoying doing this thing well.
Yeah. Yeah. And if there was someone who wanted to get involved in the arts and the creative side of life, what would you say to someone who's interested in it? What's like your PSA for them?
Sure. I would say if you are interested in the arts, you are almost certainly already involved in the arts if you just broaden your perspective a little bit. Just because you're not taking classes, just because you are not training in one of the things that is sort of canonically recognized as an art, does not mean you are not performing arts. So if if you're doing your thing with your friends and you're having fun and you're spinning little tales and being silly together, like that is self-expression. That is art. That is, you can call it improv, but it's not crucial to give it one of those, again, those labels of improv or theater or dance or whatever. If you just enjoy, if you enjoy spinning on your heel in a funny way when you have to about face, when you've realized you forgot something. I do this. That's dance. I'll call it dance. I don't care. Like, maybe the dance people will tell me I'm wrong, but that you're expressing yourself. That's art. And so I would tell you, like, you're already doing it. If it's important to you that you have the guidance and the coaching of like a canonical field, totally go get a coach. But if that's not important to you, well, then you've made it. Like, you're already there. You are doing the art.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Whatever little thing you do. I took 2 dance classes in college. Those are the only dance classes I've ever taken. I'm like, I'm a dancer. I know my body. But it's so true. Every little thing, every little self-expression is your art. And it's a beautiful thing for someone to self-actualize with themselves of like, I'm actually doing it. I can do this. So that's incredible. Thank you so much for coming on here. This was such a fun interview. Is there anything that you would like to promote yourself for now?
Oh boy. No, I don't really have very much of an internet presence. So I guess what I'd say is, like, if you know me and you're in the Seattle area, let's hang out. That's what I'll promote. But yeah.
Yes, John is promoting friendship, everyone. So if you would like if you'd like a friend, that's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I hope that you guys have a beautiful, incredible, and glorious rest of your day. Please don't forget to eat some tacos. If you would like to take any improv classes for kids, teens, adults, sketch writing, or corporate team building, go to www.thisisimprov.com and sign up today. We are doing hybrid classes, so there are some in person and some online, so it doesn't matter where you are, you can be connected. I hope you again have some tacos on this Talk About It Tuesday, you beautiful creature. Thank you so much, John, again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.